following breaking news this morning at LaGuardia Airport. All flights are canceled after a plane collided with a Port Authority fire truck.
Now, this happened just before midnight. 2 pilots were killed. Dozens of other people are injured. In this video from the scene showing the wrecked plane, nose tilted up to the sky. The crashed truck is seen nearby.
Tragedy last night at LaGuardia Airport as Jazz 646, an Air Canada CRJ-900, collides with a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport on runway 4. All we know this so far is that both pilots were killed in that collision. One of the flight attendants was thrown clear of the airplane, at least according to early reports. The aircraft in question was a CRJ-900 en route from Montreal to LaGuardia. The incident takes place at about 11:45 at night at LaGuardia. I'm going to play the ATC audio for you here, and I'm going to allow it to play all the way through. Usually I stop and make comments. I'm not. Just a trigger warning. There is a collision here. You know that there's a death coming up, but I want you to listen to what takes place between the controller and the fire truck and the controller and the aircraft. And then I'll give you all the extenuating circumstances, because there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of things that were taking place behind the scenes that we didn't see listening to this. We'll come back, we'll circle back, and I'll unwrap all of that for you. But let's listen to what happened just last night at LaGuardia.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower.
Truck 1 and Company.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower, requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, it's cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000. Jazz 646. Jazz 646, I see you collide with vehicle here, just hold position. I know you can't move. The vehicle is responding to you now.
Jazz 646 is the aircraft that collided with the fire truck, and this is a rather large fire truck, and so you can see the pictures of the damage done to the airplane just now, and it's extensive. The pilots were apparently killed instantly upon impact. The early reports is that the aircraft struck the fire truck at about 30 knots. That could be accurate. ADS-B data is notoriously inaccurate down on the ground. My guess is they were probably going a little bit faster than that when they struck this truck. But again, it's a very large truck. So again, a lot of impact, and aircraft aren't designed to take an impact like a car or a truck would be. Now, we don't know of any other fatalities. There are a number of other injuries, both on the aircraft and I'm assuming in this truck as well. So what were the extenuating circumstances that went into what was happening last night? Well, number one is this. It's the weather. Weather was not cooperating at LaGuardia last night. In fact, it was 6 statute miles of visibility in light rain and mist. And so think about when you're driving down a road at night, the poor visibility that you get when it's raining out or it's misty out. And airport runways are not lit like some freeways are lit. Sometimes there's lights over top of the freeway that illuminates the pavement in front of you. That's not the case on a runway. The runway lights are there to outline the edges of the runway, and then there's centerline lights, but they're actually embedded in the concrete. They're there just for the aircraft that's landing to see where the center line is. They're not there to illuminate the pavement and everything else around. So the lights that the aircraft has on are about it in terms of lighting. A truck like this is going to have the normal, rear lights, and it's going to have the headlights in the front, but sideways there's not going to be a lot of lights on the side of that truck. And given the fact that it was probably really poor visibility in the rain, I don't think that Jazz 646 saw this truck until maybe just the last second. And I don't think they could have even stopped then because of the wetness of the runway. The aircraft would slide on that runway. It would be much more difficult to bring the aircraft to a stop. The ceiling at LaGuardia last night was 800 to 1400 overcast. So it was a ragged ceiling, kind of like the waves of clouds that are moving through when there's a weather system going through. Broken layer at 800, so that would be the last hard layer at 800. So this aircraft probably broke out right around 800, 700 feet they're looking down the runway, but they might not be able to see that far. And when they're cleared to land, they haven't cleared the truck onto the runway yet. The truck is still off the runway. So as the pilots are looking out, they see a clear runway as much as they can see in the rain, right? And they've been cleared to land by the tower. Now, truck 1, which is the main fire truck at LaGuardia, calls, as they should, and asks for permission to cross runway 4 at Delta. Where is Delta exactly? Well, let me show you a schematic here or a diagram of LaGuardia Airport and where taxiway Delta is. So this is runway 4 right here at this end, the lower right hand of the diagram as we're looking at it. Jazz comes in to land on runway 4, and taxiway Delta is right here. It's between a third and a half of the way down the runway. It's not far down the runway. They would have touched down about the 2,000 foot mark on this runway. They would have been going really fast still at Delta. They would have expected to take the entirety of the runway to roll out. And I'm going to talk about runway 4 at LaGuardia in a minute because it's important. If you're ever based in LaGuardia or you're an experienced pilot that's flown into LaGuardia a lot, you know about runway 4 and what I'm going to say when we get to that point. Now, the visibility was at night. It was somewhere between that highway I'm describing with all the overhead lights illuminating it and a 2-lane country road that's completely dark. Think about how kind of nerve-wracking that is when you're trying to drive down a 2-lane road at night and it's raining. It's not as bad as that, but it's not as good as a highway with the overhead lights. It's somewhere in between. So again, the visibility on the part of the truck is limited because they would have to be looking out the right-hand side. I don't know how many people were in the truck. Maybe it was only the driver. Maybe there wasn't anybody in the right-hand seat to look and to clear them. And again, these aren't experienced pilots in the truck. These are firemen. They're not trained to gauge distances of aircraft landing. And so this aircraft, once it was cleared to land, might have broken out shortly after that. And looking down, even if they did look at it, they're seeing lights out at a distance on a rainy night. So those lights out at a distance, it's hard to gauge how far away they are. And they're relying and trusting the tower to clear them onto the runway. So they're following the protocol that they're supposed to by calling the tower. Now, here's the other extenuating circumstance. They were talking on 2 different frequencies. The tower is talking to the airplane on one frequency, and he's talking to the fire truck on another. And again, this is a big issue in aviation. Why we're still talking on different frequencies? Because the tower has not heard that there's an aircraft cleared to land. He's trusting the tower controller who told him it was clear to cross the runway, that the runway is in fact clear. Jazz, who's landing and on short final, they're almost in the flare when this truck starts to cross the runway. They're trusting the tower that there's nobody in front of them, and they might not have seen that fire truck down there at Delta. And at that point, once they touch down, it's impossible for them to go around because if they went around and they hit the power, they still need a bunch of runway to lift off again. It would be well past the truck. So they've got to stop before Delta, which is impossible. I can tell you that. It's not possible on a rainy night to stop before Delta taxiway at LaGuardia. They're doomed to strike something if it's still on the runway at LaGuardia. Now, you heard the air traffic controller's voice. He sees what's happening. He calls out to the fire truck. He says, "Truck 1, stop, 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 stop." But he said truck 1 real fast. I'm not sure. I think he was on the frequency that was truck 1 could hear, but truck 1 now is kind of between a rock and a hard place. They're already on the runway. And so what do? Can they gun it and get off? Well, taxiway Delta, as you can see, kind of goes a little bit at an angle. It's not a straight across. So they would have to turn a little bit onto runway 4 to exit onto Delta. And let's say they hit the gas. It wasn't enough time to avoid Jazz 646, who's landing now and can't stop on the runway. And the collision takes place. Both pilots die in that collision. Why didn't the tower tell the airplane to go around? Well, once he realized what was going on, the airplane was already touching down. So again, air traffic controllers are trained to give airplanes commands. They would give them commands like go around, or a command like takeoff clearance canceled. And then the crew is trained to know what that means, and they will take the appropriate response. The communication with vehicles on a runway, fire vehicles, crash vehicles, so forth, is a little more informal. There are some things that they're trained to say back and forth to each other, but I've listened to a lot of these conversations over the years, even at LaGuardia. And it's usually like, just stop, just go, you know, they're not trained to give a command and know how to respond to it. Now, stop, stop, stop. That's pretty clear. But again, that might not have been the right thing for them to do at that point. It might have been gun it. Well, again, the controller is not, he can't tell them to do that either. At that point, he's just hoping that they're not that far on the runway and somehow the Jazz 646 can avoid them. That didn't take place last night. So it's not feasible at this point in the flight, when the airplane's already touched down, to tell the airplane to go around. That's why no instructions were given to the airplane. Why didn't the truck see the plane? Well, again, it's hard to gauge distances and it's hard to gauge relative motion. So if you see lights out in the distance, it could be a large airplane that's a long ways away. It could be a small airplane that's rather close. In this case, it was a small airplane that was rather close. But unless you're trained to look for that, now most commercial pilots, most military pilots are trained to gauge distances based on that sort of thing. It's much more of an art than it is a science. Trust me on that. There's just points where you have to be able to either look out over the ground and see where you think they are, or gauge what size airplane they are. But remember, they haven't been told that this airplane's coming. So it's very likely that nobody looked out at all. That's the problem with the two different frequencies and the poor visibility that was at LaGuardia last night and the rain-slicked runway. Now let me discuss runway 4, because I talked to you about that just a minute ago. Runway 4 and runway 22 at LaGuardia are interesting, and same thing is on the approach end of runway 13. The rollout end of runway 4, or the approach end of runway 22, is a pier that's built out over the water. So when I was a new pilot at LaGuardia, I had an old captain say to me, "Hey, Steve, pay attention at LaGuardia, because when you roll out on runway 4, the last half of that runway is a pier that's built out over the water. And it will freeze up, it'll ice up, it'll get slick prior to the rest of the runway. And sometimes even on a dry day, the rollout end of runway 4 will get slick. Why? Because there's moisture underneath of it, and the moisture is coming up over the top of the runway, and so it gets super cool. Think when you're driving down the road and you see that sign that says bridge freezes before road, and you kind of scratch your head and you say, what does that mean? It means that the bridge is going to freeze up before the road surface does. So the road surface might be fine, but because there's airflow underneath of the bridge, and think of the end of runway 4 as a bridge, it's going to freeze up. It's going to become much slicker and harder to stop. So the advice to me back in those days, and the advice to all my buddies and pilots that are flying in and out of LaGuardia, is pay attention to the rollout end of runway 4, because it's going to get slick down there. And if you think you need to honk on the brakes at the last minute, you might not get the braking action that you think you're going to get. Now, having said that, they never got close to that. They never got all the way down there. Why? Because they struck these guys at Delta. And like I said, Delta is like a little bit more than a third of the way down runway 4. Had they gone a little bit farther, they would have been out over that pier, and then the braking action would have been a factor as well. So there's a little bit of discussion or information about what goes on at LaGuardia. All right, now, this is a tragedy on every different level. We won't know until the preliminary report comes out exactly who was to blame at this, and there might not even be any blame assessed there at that point. I'm going to try not to point fingers at anybody. I'm going to say this is really complicated. Hats off to the controller who kept his wits about him. He tells Delta right behind Jazz to go around. He follows up with another go-around call because they didn't get it the first time. Again, this is the sort of thing where your heart is pounding. You can hear his voice elevated as he's talking to Jazz, he's talking to the fire truck, he's talking to Delta, and he keeps his wits about him to keep managing the airport, because there's other airplanes coming in, while at the same time they're busy closing the airport so that they can get the other fire trucks out there to on scene and hopefully save lives. And so he keeps his wits about him, but at the same time, there's that nagging thought in the back of your mind: did I make a mistake? Did I blow it? Well, you know what? It's just like a football game or something else. You know what? You got to stay in the moment. 8 seconds ago was 8 seconds ago. Keep your wits about you. Keep managing the airport. Don't make a secondary issue out of a primary issue. And so again, the tapes will all be pulled. Everybody will go back and review this. They'll pull the cockpit voice recorder, find out what the conversation was like in the cockpit. We don't have any of that information at this point. All we know is that Jazz was cleared to land. There was nothing wrong with the aircraft. They would come in and land normally at LaGuardia. It looks like they touched down in the normal space that they were allotted to land down, touch down in. They're rolling out. Would they have seen the pickup truck before they landed? Probably not, because or not pickup truck, but the fire truck. Would they have seen that before they landed? The fire truck probably wasn't even on the runway yet. And if it was, it would blend in with all the other lights on the runway. From that distance, you wouldn't be able to tell until you got right up on that fire truck, which they did. And again, if there's any more information that comes out, we'll relay that to you as soon as we get it here at this channel. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, gee, it seems like there's been so many incidents recently in aviation and especially at LaGuardia. Well, let's talk about what the facts are. The last time there was a fatality at LaGuardia was in 1992. 1992. I had just been hired as a pilot by my airline, and that was the first base that I was assigned to. I spent most of my career at LaGuardia as a pilot, but as a brand new pilot, I was given a lot of advice and a lot of recommendations about LaGuardia. But 3 months into getting hired at my airline, there was an accident with U.S. Air. It was the U.S. Air flight 406. 27 people were killed. It was a Fokker F-28. It was on a takeoff roll on runway 13. It departed the runway. It went off over the embankment into Flushing Bay. It was a miracle that only 27 people were killed. I'll show you a picture here of the wreckage of that flight, because it was, this is the next day as they're pulling wreckage out of Flushing Bay. You can see extensive damage on that aircraft back from 1992. It's amazing, again, that so few people were killed on that. The really ironic part of all this was that last night's accident was March 22nd, 2026. The last time there was a fatality at LaGuardia was March 22nd, 1992. Exactly 34 years to the day. That's hard. That's hard to wrestle with. But our hearts go out to the captain and the first officer and their families. There's a lot of people that are really heartbroken tonight over this. Our prayers here at this channel is that nobody else dies as a result of this accident. There are several serious injuries as a result of it. And again, the investigation will be ongoing to find out exactly what led up to this tragic accident. But as we know it, weather was a factor last night at LaGuardia. 2 different frequencies, talking to 2 different vehicles, one a fire truck, one an aircraft. They didn't hear what was going on with the other. And then that just see and avoid doctrine of looking out and seeing what's going on, all of that was hampered by the rain, the mist, and the low visibility last night at LaGuardia. The air traffic controller kept his wits about him and kept everything else moving. But wow, this is really hard and it's really tragic. So our prayers go out to their families. We're going to ask you to do the same. Please pray for these people. This is hard stuff for them. It's as hard as it gets. Well, now you know. I'm Captain Steve.